Did you know that sometimes losing all of your property when you're poor can send you into a spiral? For example, maybe somebody who has to drive to get to work, losing their car makes them lose their job, and then losing their job means they can't pay for their daughter's medical bills or their own, and so they skip going to the doctor so little Susan can actually go to the doctor so she isn't dead. Or maybe they start rationing insulin. Like a friend did after he lost his business. And so this wildly crazy scenario might actually happen on occasion. For instance, maybe some streamer called DylanBurnsTV's father couldn't move out of his black mold-infested home because of certain things due to a certain robbery incident where he was cut open and blood was covering the whole apartment, and many other things, of course, as well. And so now he has cancer and is dying. I wonder how these scenarios come to be, but we don't need to consider that, because we can just tell them all. Capitalism. Property isn't worth shooting, so I don't want to get into this again. I've already said this before, and how we can't really 100% like, I don't want to get in an argument with chat again about this. Oh boy. Okay, here's one. You know what, chat? This is LA Dylan speaking, okay? I'm about to go chud. Okay then. Property isn't worth shooting somebody over. Okay. We all see how recessions and economic desperation like affect people, right? We saw the 2008 financial crisis. We saw the Great Depression. People threw themselves out of windows and blew their brains out when they lost their homes. People were permanently set down paths of heroin use, drug use, crime. Not to mention the lack of ability to pay medical bills killed a lot more people. So it seems that putting somebody in an immediate line to poverty can actually end up killing and hurting people substantially. For example, this scenario is 100% plausible. Somebody comes into my home, steals all my stuff and leaves. I, of course, have to replace some of that stuff. Replacing that stuff's expensive. Maybe you can say property insurance, but maybe property insurance doesn't cover it all. Maybe I don't have property insurance. Could be a million different scenarios. And if I do have insurance, that money takes a long time to get over here. And you know what? It's difficult paying those bills, getting all those things fixed that's necessary for my family to survive. It means you have to cut a few corners, stop a few doctor's visits. Then I don't get those spots in my liver checked out. Cancer. Direct line. And you can say, Dylan, that is a wild and crazy scenario. The idea that somebody being economically desperate could possibly cause them not to get medical attention or any other amount of, ooh, wait a second, that happens all the time. In fact, we can see that specifically relating to recessions and economic depressions. I would even say if we checked, you could see that medically related not being able to see the doctor as much probably contributed to a lot of premature deaths. A lot of people blew their brains out, killed themselves over losing their houses. Not to mention the long-term economic and psychological impact it can have on people. Because even if it doesn't kill you, it can send you and your family into poverty. Sounds like capitalism is the problem. Wow, Dito, you're a fucking genius. You want to know what? Wow, fucking amazing. You are so big-brained. I didn't think about the idea that not having these things in there for people. You know what? I agree that if at any moment all my property could be replaced by a perfect and just society, you're right. Then we wouldn't ever even be having this discussion at all. It'd be an easy solution. So I'm gonna close my eyes and you're gonna plop in my hand that society so this discussion isn't worth having. Oh wait, you can't. Because we don't live in fantasy land. We live in the real world. And since we live in an imperfect society, we have to talk about moral decisions that might be a little hazy. Because we can't just have all of our property replaced like that. Same thing happens when it comes to defensive property. And so I'm not saying you shoot someone over a PS5, but if you're about to lose everything you own, that can send you into suicide, that can send you into medical debt, that can send you into not going to doctor's visits, that can affect the bottom line, that can send your children into, oh my God, a million different problems with them. Whether that be not being able to afford school supplies, not being able to afford mental health care that they might need. What about trans kids who they won't be able to get the care they need necessary to properly like deal with there's so many different issues that can cause death or long-term problems. Not to mention how it can push people to take a less than morally perfect way in life to a life in crime. And so yes, I don't think you should be blowing people's brains out if they're gonna steal a bag of Skittles at the store. I think that woman that killed that 14-year-old little girl after the Rodney King shooting because of a thing of orange juice was disgusting and horrible, and the fact that she got community service, awful. But we cannot at all say that that is the same as somebody desperately trying to protect the little bit they have. People who are mega rich, super wealthy, at the top of society, they can pay security guards, they can go into gated communities. If they lose their stuff, they can just buy more stuff. Who cares? But if you live in parts of Maryland like Hagerstown, Cecil County, no, it's not that easy. You were saying killing people is based on how much you make? A little bit, yeah. If you're super poor and somebody's about to destroy everything you have, yeah. It's a little bit different than if you're Bill Gates and somebody stole $5,000 from you. It's a little bit different, in my opinion. That means nothing to Bill Gates. That means everything to somebody trying to make ends meet. You can say this is a stupid hot take, and you want to know what? Every time I hear that, you know what that screams? Fucking privileged. That's what it screams to me. I'm sorry. You can say, well, I'm not. Okay. That's what it screams to me. Could you imagine somebody having to make complicated moral decisions based on their healthcare situation or everything, and your response is, this capitalism, man? Oh, well, great job. Oh, great, wonderful, problem solved. Okay, we live in this society now. Now what? Yes, I'm sure a lot of moral decisions wouldn't be as complicated if we had all of our solutions and all of our things fixed by a perfect society that could replace anything you lose in an instant. But we don't live in that world, do we? We live here, we live now. How much is a human life worth? Is that ratio income for you, Lamau? There are people I know who have lost their fucking lives from having to ration medicine after their businesses went under. You can't tell me that if someone was put in that situation because someone took all their shit, That person didn't at all have a right to defend their property, the little bit that was keeping them alive. And you could say, oh, this seems like a rat race for people living under capitalism. You know what? We live under capitalism. We have to make difficult decisions. Welcome to the real world, honestly. We can replace property. Life is irreparable. Great point. I'll tell that to the person who put a gun around, blew their brains out after they lost their home. Got some geniuses in chat today. My God. I have no opinion on your take, but I wouldn't take a human life over property that doesn't even belong to me. I mean, yeah. That case that we were just talking about with that guy, that's ridiculous. The medical system is bad, so yes, people should have to be able to kill and defend property. I know the medical system is bad ways to design, because obviously you need deep mental health care, because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, or the dumbest summation of my take possible. I'm sorry, but nobody's listening to what I have to say. Nobody cares about what I'm saying. It was verbatim? Okay. Okay then. Here's an argument for why we should join the Second World War. We need to join the Second World War because the Germans are mean. Well, that's a terribly simplistic argumentation, isn't it? Kind of whittles down all the important information you needed to make a decision. Like, is that the correct position? Yes, but you made it sound pretty stupid. Because the reasons I'm giving is how that never mind, I'm not gonna say that. This is the problem, is if you listen to my argument is, oh, you value life, okay, sometimes destroying people's property can take more lives than you pulling the trigger. For example, someone comes to take your shit, you lose your shit, you could lose your home, you lose all this other stuff, it ends up killing you and your family. Or it ends up you not being able to get medical attention, boom, you're dead, your family now doesn't have a child. See how this shit develops? We can see this at any time there's like a depression or an economic recession. This happens all the time. People blow their brains out, don't get medical attention, go homeless. But nah, that was the ripples of the effect of the situation. We don't need to pay attention. Oh, my brain is too small to think about tomorrow. That's what it sounds like from chat. All I can think is about the immediate bullet. That's the only thing that does damage. The reality of killing someone is someone's life is over. Yeah, it's a terrible decision anyone has to make. No one should be put under that decision. I hope one day we live in a society where you would never need to consider pulling the trigger on somebody. Number one, because nobody is going out robbing, because you don't have to. And number two, if someone is robbing your stuff, you don't need to take someone's life, because that stuff will be replaced, because we have a system that there's enough wealth and distribution in a way that your stuff will be replaced. And we have good insurance policies that cover. Wonderful. That would be great. That's the world I want. We don't live in that world. Do we? Well, you know what? If this is the world I live in, that's great, that's wonderful, I don't need to stream anymore. In fact, I can go, I don't know, work in the pro wrestling industry like I would be my secondary option, because I love wrestling. I don't know, I can quit, because apparently we've already achieved some weird post-capitalist paradise where everybody is like protected and everything's fine. Joe Biden brought the revolution, apparently. I don't know, I grew up extremely poor. When I was a kid, an iPod was like like a mental health haven and several months worth of savings. The shit isn't easily replaceable. Exactly, it isn't easily replaceable. I don't know if the iPod would be the thing I'd kill somebody over. I don't even think I would have, even in my most economically desperate state. Can I just point out that yes, doing X causes harm, but doing it to prevent Y harm, which is arguably worse, is a perfectly valid argument. That's literally what I'm saying. That if the harm that is caused by them stealing your stuff is worse than the harm that could be caused by you pulling the trigger, then it is valid for you to pull the trigger. For example, if you are no longer able to pay for medical bills, if you are no longer able to go see a doctor because of the cost, if you're no longer able to pay for medication, like my friend who had to ration his insulin until he was dead, or any of these things, then I believe it is arguable that you could actually pull the trigger and it could be a morally correct thing to do in that situation. Like, it is a hypothetical that is extremely unrealistic for the most part. Oh my god, that... One second. Let me get into an environment that maybe like would be more like your area. Right? Ballroom. Maybe yes. Quite. So, for everybody out there, oh please look at me, my Versace watch. For everybody out there, I know it might be difficult to believe. For everybody out there in chat who's finding this difficult to believe because you came with a fucking silver spoon in your mouth, did you know that sometimes losing all of your property when you're poor can send you into a spiral? For example, maybe somebody who has to drive to get to work, losing their car makes them lose their job, and then losing their job means they can't pay for their daughter's medical bills or their own, and so they skip going to the doctor so little Susan can actually go to the doctor so she isn't dead. Or maybe they start rationing insulin. Like a friend did after he lost his business. And so this wildly crazy scenario might actually happen on occasion. For instance, maybe some streamer called DylanBurnsTV's father couldn't move out of his black mold-infested home because of certain things due to a certain robbery incident where he was cut open and blood was covering the whole apartment, and many other things, of course, as well. And so now he has cancer and is dying. I wonder how these scenarios come to be, but we don't need to consider that. Because we can just tell them all. Capitalism. 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 Congratulations, you're a fucking genius. God, man. Is this really that difficult of a thing to grasp? And again, I understand that in most scenarios this wouldn't apply. Great. Wonderful. We don't need to think about it often. Ugh.